Here's an ET Now exclusive, and this is certainly a big one. The tax department is cracking down on individuals with high-value deposits as post the government's demonetization drive, especially the ones who failed to offer any explanation for those high-value deposits. My colleague Adrija Chatterjee, who broke that exclusive story, joins us with all of the details. What exactly are you picking up, Adrija?
Yes, Nantara, this is an extremely interesting development. What the sources are telling ET Now is that they have identified around 18 lakh high-value deposits post the government demonetization drive. It's been 130 days since that decision made by the government, and 18 lakh high-value deposits were under the scanner. And the IT department has basically sent letters and surveys to these 18 lakh high-value deposits. Out of them, 10.5 lakh taxpayers have offered explanation for such high-value deposits, but there are still 7.5 lakhs high-value depositors out there who hasn't offered any explanation yet. Interestingly, what the government is asking, what the department is asking these 7.5 lakh high-value depositors to do is to come in the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana by March end. We know that the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana ends by March 31st, and therefore the government is asking these 7.5 lakh high-value deposits which came in after demonetization to get into the window, to pay up, because it is a much lower penalty. It's a 49.9% penalty, and in order to not explain their deposits, they can very well come into the window. Otherwise, they will fear and face strict action from the IT department. This is interesting because even though it's been a while with the government's demonetization drive, these 7.5 lakh people are being pushed to come into the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana, a window which closes, as I told you, by March 31st. Otherwise, they may face very, very fierce action from the tax department.
Okay, there's a big story that you're breaking in how 7.5 lakh depositors, high-value depositors, did not even respond to the questions raised by the tax department via surveys. They've been asked to be part now of the PMGKY. Let's discuss this with Dinesh Kanebar of Dhruva Tax Advisors. Hi, Mr. Kanebar. This is Nantara joining you from the New Delhi studio. I'm sure you were listening to what my colleague Adrija had to talk about, how 18 lakh accounts are under the lens for high deposits post demonetization. The account holders were asked to answer questions detailing these deposits, and 7.5 lakh depositors have not answered the survey questions, and further action will be taken against those who do not pay penalty via the PMGKY. They've been asked to come under the PMGKY. Mr. Kanebar, how would you react to this? Would this have been the natural progressive step to ask them to become part of the PMGKY? I would like to first of all say, I cannot even understand why someone would not respond to the tax department.
I would totally agree with you, Nantara. I think very clearly the aim of demonetization was to ensure that the entire economy comes into the formal channels and comes out of the informal channels that exist today. There was a dispute resolution scheme, DRS scheme, which was there till September, and it was a request to the government to say that since the demonetization happened post 30th September, could there be an opportunity given to people who have cash to come clean? And I would say that this is really an effort in that direction, where the government is sort of trying to soften the blow, where we are talking about a taxation, a deposit and a small penalty, the deposit to be refunded back to the person concerned, and therefore is an easy way out for people to escape prosecution. I would like to believe that if somebody who is required to explain and is unable to explain the deposit would actually risk prosecution thereafter, and therefore I would agree with your conclusion that one can't even fathom that if person has made deposits which he can't explain, why would he not rush and sort of take advantage of this particular scheme?
No, because we understand that 7.5 lakh depositors have not even answered the survey questions. That's something which I don't understand how is taking place. But should they be naturally be asked to come under the PMGKY, which has a 49.9% penalty clause?
No,
or do you think they're going to explain all the questions that are being asked at the time of filing the annual return?
So let us assume for a moment that a person does not, so whether a person explains or not, is a matter of compliance, and there are of course small penalties where a tax office writes to you and asks you to explain, you do not explain, and it may very well have been that out of the 7.5 lakh some notices may have gone, not gone, some replies may have been filed. Tracking itself is not a very easy job. The point I'm making is a much larger point, to say that the fact is that these deposits are being tracked. Therefore, there is no way for a person to really avoid giving the explanation to the tax office either today or in the course of assessment proceedings. So if these people do not file returns of income, they'll be asked to file returns of income, and they have no option under the Income Tax Act but to file a return of income, number one. If they are filing return of income, then they'll be asked to explain the source of these deposits. So this is inevitable. Now, if people do not avail of the scheme and do not pay the tax plus deposit and penalty today, then what happens in the course of regular proceedings is that they will have to pay tax, and they will have to pay a 200% penalty and suffer a prosecution. And therefore, what is being suggested today and what the government is encouraging people to do by coming under the scheme is a much smaller price without there being a pain of prosecution, and therefore it's a window out for these people who have deposited millions of rupees into Jan Dhan Yojanas and whatever else, and where the monies are being attributed to them.
So if they take part in the PMGKY, they can pay a 49.9% penalty, become compliant, as opposed to later facing a 200% penalty and prosecution, stringent imprisonment.